Come, let us explore the 11th verse of the Great Garuda in Flight, a Dzogchen classic. This was written many centuries ago by Garuda of the Swat Valley, which way back then was known as Odinaya. Together let us recite. The worst sickness of all those who enter a path when there is no path, is that they reach for a goal, just like a deer pursuing a mirage. The goal is not an object that can be attained, nor does it arise from the threefold world. Even the state of dependence on the 10 stages is an obstacle to perfect purity. So I really love this verse a great deal. I look forward to sharing this with you. So let's begin from the beginning. The worst sickness of all those who enter a path where there is no path is that they reach for a goal just like a deer pursuing a mirage. So this is the first sentence of this verse is in two parts. The worst sickness of all those who enter a path when there is no path. Many Western scholars insist that there are two paths of Buddhist meditation, the gradual path and the sudden path. Ask the Buddha. He taught enlightenment could be accomplished in as little as 7 days. That's pretty damn quick if you ask me. So where does this confusion come from? This is important. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun and tingly way. For this applies not only to all things, beings, and phenomena, but to humans. Yes, even meditation teachers. So we should not be surprised that the majority of meditation teachers are rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. A minority are the opposite. A minority are flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Now, these two lists of 8 attributes could seem dizzying, but I'm sure you get the basic gist that they are opposites. This rigid path, this controlling path, is ineffective. And when someone who is flexible does something that's ineffective, they're able to notice that and change their approach because they're flexible. When someone is rigid, they're stubborn and they won't change their path. And they'll say something like, well, I've done this for 7 days and I haven't gotten the results I want. Let's try it for 7 more years. That'll do it. And then after 7 years, I might say, well, let's try 7 more decades. And if that won't do it, they'll say, well, let's try 7 more lifetimes. Come on, giddy up. It'll be great. And so, yes, they are very optimistic and they're very, very devoted to whatever it is they've been taught or whatever it is they've figured out. But they're blind to the results of their actions. I was told that the key to the scientific process is to ask a question, develop a hypothesis, test the hypothesis, and notice the results. And that based on the results we receive determines our next course of action. Our friends who are rigid and fundamentalistic don't evaluate their results. They don't change the course of action. And the results are quite tragic. The worst sickness of all, those who enter a path where there is no path. So I'd like to shed some more light on this, if I may. Most complex life forms, especially mammals, have the good fortune to have an autonomic nervous system divided between our sympathetic and its parasympathetic aspects. Every time we feel air enter our nostril, our sympathetic nervous system, which is ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord, has evolved to notice, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, all manner of mind's antics, such as perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. Every time we feel air exit our nostrils, our parasympathetic nervous system, I should say the parasympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system, which is divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord, has evolved to help us to physically relax, that to a certain degree we might mentally release. We might release to such a degree that fleetingly, that which we noticed during our previous inhalation, could feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining. That is, unless, at least, until our next inhalation, where the cycle begins afresh. So here's the cool thing. We cannot, through sheer act of will, change our central nervous system. We do not make our sympathetic nervous system notice. We do not make our parasympathetic nervous system relax. But what we can do is decide whether we're going to cooperate with this process or compete against it. We can compete against it till we're blue in the face. We're not going to achieve the goals we want. We're not going to be the peaceful, loving people that our dogs already think we are. However, by passively cooperating with these mechanisms, we can rapidly master the Buddha's path in as little as a week. All we got to do is silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel air enter our nostrils, as well as silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we feel air exit our nostrils. Now let's return to the root text. To enter a path where there is no path. There's no path. We don't have to believe certain things. We don't have to understand certain things. All we gotta do is get out of our own way and passively notice when our body wants to passively notice, and passively relax when our body wants to passively relax, or better yet, stop preventing our body from noticing and stop actively preventing our body from relaxing. All we got to do is go along for the ride. And so the author infers in the bottom couplet that the act of making it happen is a strategy that is as satisfying as a mirage would be to a man in the desert dying of thirst. I'm going to turn the page. The goal is not an object that can be attained, nor does it arise from the threefold world. What is the goal? Enlightenment. What is enlightenment? Enlightenment, according to a minority point of view, is simply mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. You get so, in other words, we can practice, as we practice mindfulness and meditation, the remaining six folds of the Buddha's path take care of themselves automatically. And by cooperating with the body's intentions, the body's mechanisms to effortlessly notice and relax, we can master the Buddha's path. We can get so good at the Buddha's path that we practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. This mastery does not come from our ability to contrive and twist our perceptions of the gross, the subtle, and the very subtle, like a child folding origami. Our goal is attained by gently and easily and, yes, even pleasurably cooperating with the natural mechanisms of our autonomic nervous system. Let us read. Even the state of dependence on the 10 stages is an obstacle to perfect purity. So in Mahayana Buddhism, there was this idea that there were 10 stages to enlightenment. This is very, very popular amongst cult leaders and self-help gurus because it strings people along, and they spend lots of time and lots of money buying books and coming to group meetings. But Rahe Vajra, also known as Gaurav Dorje, said no. You don't need the 10 stages. We're already wired to notice and relax. Stop stepping on our own dicks. Let's stop getting in our own way and just cooperate with the body's natural tendency. That is one of the reasons why one of the nicknames for enlightenment is nothing special. Now, if you're as sharp as I think you are, you could ask, well, hey, if all these scriptures are saying there's 10 stages, does that mean not all documents that call themselves scriptures are scriptures? Yes. I think was it Aesop's fables that reminded us that not all that glitters is gold? I think that was also in a Jethro Tull song, but I might be mistaken. So there is a minority opinion that there is a vast difference. The way the Buddha taught, and then in time, teachings that people attributed to the Buddha, which is very, very different. So you can think of it this way. There's proto-Buddhism, and I got that term from a late Theravadan monk, clearly before he was late, a late Theravadan monk. So there's proto-Buddhism and institutional Buddhism. So I want to return to a visual aid, if I might. Going to tap button 9. So we talked about the 90%. Some would call it Yang's religious patriarchy versus Yin's spiritual matriarchy. Or you could say the way of the Buddha versus the way of the Buddha's foolish cousin Devadatta. There is a myth that there is a myth that there was a Buddha. And there was another myth that the Buddha had a foolish cousin who did his best to steal students and patrons away from the Buddha. And he succeeded. He did that, but he couldn't keep them because the stuff that he taught didn't work. Yes, the stuff that he taught was more difficult, and there's this common myth that the more difficult something is, the more effective it is. I don't know about you, but as a stupid child, that's what I thought when I was doing calisthenics. I injured my joints doing things that were needlessly difficult because I thought they were better. No, they were just difficult. And in every endeavor, there are those who find ways to make it more efficient and others who find ways to make it less efficient. And I kid you not, those who work hard to make things less efficient will look down their noses at those who seek to heighten efficiency. Let's look at the human brain. In the underbrain, there is a dopamine-oriented system that is highly competitive, and there is an oxytocin-oriented system that is highly cooperative. The competitive system can give us short-term pleasure. The cooperative system can give us long-term satisfaction. Similarly, in the brain, we have the amygdala, which is the seat of both anxiety and aggression. We have the anterior cingulate gyrus, which is the seat of empathy. Two different mechanisms. The rigid folk, the elitist folk, are more competitive and fearful and aggressive. The flexible folk, the egalitarian folk, are more cooperative, though more empathetic. The 90% of the bozos who call themselves humans seek positions of prestige and power, the way a drowning man seeks for air. And they're so excited to do all that they can to attain positions of prestige and power that they don't try to deserve it. And then, just like Devadatta, when they receive positions of power, they wind up with systems that don't work. They wind up with the inability to recognize what doesn't work. And they don't have the ability to innovate or experiment or re-examine their presuppositions because of the rigidity that defines them. So when we look at the 90% who are rigid and elitist, let us ourselves not be elitist. Let us not mock them. Let us not be competitive. Let us have empathy for those who see a path where there is no path. For those who see something long and difficult and arduous when there's actually something very simple, very easy, and very effective. Having completed our opening lesson, it's time for us to now shift gears. It is General Leia Organa Saturday morning. Come. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired. It's not the morning, it's the evening. It is General Leia Organa Saturday. Okay, I am super tired. I apologize. Third time is the charm. It is General Leia Organa's Saturday evening meditation. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this evening's live stream, let's play with the latest iteration of very easy meditation practice text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. So we could practice this for as little as 5 minutes once every 12 hours. We could practice this lying down, walking, or even sitting as sustainably as we can. Now, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 13 minutes or so. Live long and prosper. Each time we feel our chest swell, silently and mentally we could recite, noticing. Each time we feel our chest sink, silently and mentally we could recite, relaxing. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 1/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning meditation class, as well as group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.